Hey gang, Chad Man here with Breakthrough, and had a question from an owner here today, and it's what's the quickest way to learn about marketing? And before I get into this, I want to talk about a pitfall that I see a lot when I'm having conversations with different owners, and it's something that I thought about in the beginning as well. And it's this finish line mentality that, hey, by the way, what's the minimum viable thing that I have to learn to be able to have marketing in my private practice and be able to succeed and grow? And I don't think that's really how it works. I think it's just like, physical therapy. When you go and you get your bachelor's degree, if you've been in private practice for a couple decades like I have, or if it's a master's degree or doctorate degree, your education's not done at that point. And it's the same thing with marketing. And especially if you're going to be taking on the role of chief marketing officer in your private practice, it's going to be something that you're never going to stop with. So that's the first pitfall that you want to avoid. Anyhow, what I did here was I listed out 7 ways, and I'll include some of my favorites here, but 7 ways that I've learned about marketing in my private practice. Number 1 is books. You hear me talk about books a lot. I'm almost always in the middle of reading 2 or 3 books. Right now it's reading on leadership, Turn the Ship Around. But really, if I go back to even when I was in college, I was constantly reading books, and books give you ideas, and they allow you to tap into the mindset of people that are successful. And what I love to do is find people who are where I want to be in certain areas of life. And then I really just read their books. And oftentimes there's other information in there. You can swim upstream. You can look at other books that they reference within their book. And it really, what happens is there's this constant flood of ideas that I'm flooding my mind with. And some of my best marketing ideas have come from reading books outside of physical therapy. So, for example, in 2011, when I was struggling a bit in private practice and we had started losing physician referrals because of the local hospital systems purchasing the physician practices, you know the story there. What turned it around for me is I invested in this series of books by Jeffrey Gitomer. I remember I went to an event and it was like a $500 package of Jeffrey Gitomer's books, digested them within a few months, and then started applying that in my practice. And it pretty much revolutionized everything that I was doing. The second way is you can watch videos. So you can go on YouTube. I know we put here at Breakthrough, we put videos out all the time, but that's, especially more available today than it was 10 or 20 years ago. You can go on YouTube and learn just about anything. Again, I know we have a Breakthrough marketing channel. We put a lot of YouTubes out in the social media sphere of influence, right? You might even be watching this as a video. But yeah, so you can watch videos. And if you prefer to learn that way versus books, fantastic. The third thing that you can do is you can read articles. So again, there are a lot of blog posts out there. Anytime that we're creating information as a physical therapist, I love to get as much leverage as possible. So if I'm making a video from PT to patient, right? So this is me as a physical therapist and I'm talking with you and you're a patient, not a private practice owner. We're going to turn that into a blog post. We're going to turn 12 blog posts into a book or a report. And there's a lot of different things that we can do with that, right? A lot of different media that we can create, that we can generate out of one piece of content, but you can watch videos and learn how to market from videos. The fourth thing that you can do is listen to podcasts. This is something that's just part of my daily routine. Every day on the drive from home to work, I listen to a podcast, and it's usually a business podcast. I love Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn. The Tim Ferriss podcast, always a classic, and The Learning Leader. They're probably the 3 that I listen to the most. I listen to some health hacking ones as well every once in a while, but they're the 3 that are with me on most of my commutes to work. And it's just like this, subconscious, not a big effort learning experience as well. Really like to do that. So number 4 is podcast. Number 5 is mentors. This is a big one. And, the key and I alluded to this early in the video, but you want to find people who are where you want to be in a certain area of your life and study from them. And I've had 3 business mentors for the last 2 decades plus. And I remember just last week, I went to one of my mentors and I said, "Hey, have this problem. Don't know how to look at this. This is the business issue that I'm having. What do you think about this? Here's what I'm thinking." Offer that up first. And we had a 20-minute conversation and it was fantastic. And I mean, I could never get that advice that he gave me from a book. I could never get it from a video or a podcast or anything like that. And he talked me through how to think about this business problem that I was having. And it was very sound, wise advice from his own life experience. So, you can be mentored, or I'd probably throw in hiring a coach in there as well. But that would be another option if you want to learn really, really quick. The key is make sure that the person that who's going to be your mentor or your coach, that they have the life experience that you're looking for. And I know in Ray Dalio's book, Principles, he talks about something called believability-based decision-making, right? And it's the same exact thing. Like anytime in life, I'll give an example. I have mentors who, they're just like any other person. They're human, so they thrive in some areas, and they've not succeeded in other areas. So when that happens, I'm not going to them and asking them for, advice in certain areas if they haven't done it before. And I know, like one time, I was paying for coaching, and somebody was giving me personnel coaching advice. And I said, "Hey, by the way, how many employees do you have right now?" And they said 1. And I said, "Well, then I'm not going to listen to what you're telling me right now, because you don't really have the experience of running an organization with 80 people in it." Right? So it's the same kind of thing right there. And that's believability-based decision-making. But number 5 would be mentors, or you can throw in there coach in parentheses. Number 6 would be events, right? That's a live learning event. Again, this is all about how you like to learn. I love events. I know we host a quarterly event here at Breakthrough, and that has now expanded over the last several years. But many people like to learn at events. What's the great thing about an event? Well, you get to step outside of your day-to-day life, right? So you don't have the distraction of somebody walking into your office, or the kids running into your office or anything like that and distracting you, right? So we don't have that day-to-day tug because we're driving a distance, or we're hopping on a plane, going to an event, something like that. So we get this detachment, this minimizing the distraction, and then we get to dive deep into whatever topic we want to learn about. So if I were to do it all over again and learn about marketing, that's what I would want to do is go to an event. And by the way, I went to a lot of events early on, and I've been to various GKIC events, which is the whole Dan Kennedy organization. I've been to a Frank Kern event. I went to the Jeffrey Gitomer event. I've been to small conferences that specifically talked about marketing, but invested in myself there, time, money, and resources, right, and to learn how to market through events. So that's something that you can do as well. And then finally, number 7 would be part of a peer, or like a group mastermind would probably be the easiest way to think about that. And anytime that you're joining a mastermind, you want to look for a couple things. One is that there are people in the group that are a little bit ahead of where you're at, right? So you can learn from them. And the other thing is there are other people in the group that are maybe not quite where you're at yet as well. And what that allows you to do, and by the way, I've heard advice that contradicts that. And the advice generally is you want everybody in the group to be ahead of where you're at. What I've found works much better from real life experience is that if there's people in the group that are farther from where I'm at, that's the easy one, right? That's the obvious one. Great, I'm going to learn from them. What happens is if there's a handful of people that are actually looking to me for advice, is it forces me, right? If you follow that, like learn, do, teach, if I'm teaching them or if I'm showing them what I'm doing in my business. Let me give you a quick example here. Let's say I have 2 practice sites. This is 10 years ago. Let's say I have 2 practice sites and I'm doing 1.5 million a year. There's somebody else in the group who has a solo location and they're doing 500K a year. And they're asking me, they want to learn about how do I hire my first PT? I've already done that. I'm sharing my advice with them. The process of me going through my experience, categorizing or cataloging my thoughts and organizing my thoughts and then communicating it is very, very powerful. And I don't want you to miss out on that point because, again, if I'm in a group where I never get the chance to teach or share my experience and everybody else is way ahead of me and they have, 50 locations and they're doing $50 million a year in revenue and they have, they're employing 150 or 200 people, something like that, that is not nearly as optimal as if I'm learning and then I have to teach it as well, because it connects all that and it forces me to implement as well. So that's what I like to look for in a group or mastermind. By the way, if you do want to learn about marketing in a significantly faster way, complete with all the shortcuts and everything else, a lot of the marketing that not only I've implemented here in my private practice at Madden PT, but also that we've cultivated for 800 other practices all over the world, all 50 states in the US, 12 countries internationally. What you can do is head on over to learnwithbreakthrough.com. Lots of goodies over there, free courses, and really it's a big shortcut for you in learning about marketing for your private practice. Anyhow, this is Chad Madden with Breakthrough. Hope you really enjoyed this, watching this or listening to this, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching this video. If you found this helpful and you want to learn more, then head over to learnwithbreakthrough.com to access our free in-depth training tutorials. That's learnwithbreakthrough.com. Thanks again for tuning in.